The advice given on sex and other human activities is for entertainment purposes only. If you've got a question for us, send us an email at cavecomedyradio@gmail.com.
Yep.
I guess that's as good a place as any to start. Oh,
yeah.
Welcome to Sex and Other Human Activities.
Oh, man. Just let one out yourself. Just do it. Oh, yeah, we're having a time.
We're having a time, I guess. Yeah, it's an odd feeling day here in New York City. I don't know what it is. There's something in the air. I guess everything's been feeling a little odd.
I think there's a lot of things. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of things going on.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of psychic fallout right now, I guess. Yeah. It'll fuck with you a little bit.
Oh, yeah, went into a little hole.
Yeah, we all did. I think a lot of people went into that little hole, but I got out again.
Oh, yeah, I'm back.
I had to get myself out. I definitely spent Wednesday, I just dropped out of the world completely, just to I don't know, think about shit.
Oh, yeah, I didn't answer emails. I didn't do anything. I just couldn't. I just sat on the couch and watched television, like just mindless shit.
Yeah, and then I woke up on Friday, or on Thursday, felt a little bit better, and then by Friday I was like, all right, time to stop moping, time to get back to life.
You gotta pick up your bootstraps.
Yeah, gotta pick up your bootstraps and get back to shit, man.
Hell yeah, baby.
That's the way you do it. Well, one thing that we wanted to talk about today was something that's kind of building on what we were talking about on the last episode, when we were talking about, I think it was during answering a letter, when we were talking about having a partner that's able to understand your mental illness. The other side of that we wanted to talk about is having mental illness and understanding your partner and where the fuck they're coming from.
Right.
And in fact, I'm kind of going through that a little bit right now, because when you really have like a mental illness and when you're, I guess as focused on it as we are, you can become a little bit too focused on it. You can really make it a big part of your personality, so big that it can almost become your entire personality. And you can become a slave to maintenance.
And it's also using it as an excuse as well.
Oh, absolutely using it as an excuse. And one of the things that I've gotten called out on was I think what is with mental illness sometimes is that, we can somehow make our hard times more valuable and more valid than other people's hard times who don't suffer from mental illness, where it's like, oh, you're having a hard time?
Well, I'm always having a hard time.
I'm always having a hard time. Life is always hard for me. Life is a constant struggle for me.
And you'll never understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you do get to that. I mean, when you're really having a rough time and you just think, it's that same thing. I feel like you go back to being a teenager where you're just like, no one understands what I'm going through. Only what's happening inside my brain do I understand what I'm going through. And that's not true.
Yeah. And even if they do understand what you're going through, it's, you can't say like, yeah, you understand why I'm going through, but then getting mad about that.
Right.
Getting mad about them understanding what you're going through is like, you understand what I'm going through. You know exactly what's happening to me. Why are you coming at me with something? Like what? Like why are you bringing your problems to me? I've got enough problems already, and it invalidates the other person's problems. And that is an extremely harmful and a very selfish thing to do. It's fucking awful, and that's something that we all have to watch out for.
And especially in a partnership where I am in a partnership with someone who doesn't really have anything going on. I mean, not like that, but I mean, like, no mental illness. He doesn't have a crippling past. He's a guy.
He's a dude.
Yeah. And so now through the years that I've talked about it on here, that he is good with dealing with me, that afterwards, sometimes he's like, you never think about how I feel when you're going through that. And I'm like, well, it's not about you. He's like, I understand that it's not about me, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect me.
Exactly.
And that is something that I had to come to realize, that even though he gets it, that I'm not angry and raging at him, that he's still a person.
Yeah.
And he still watches me go through it, and he still is concerned. And it's really difficult that, no matter what you say, to not at least take it 3% to heart.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, even though it's difficult for me to control, there's no reason for me to put it at him and be like, well, I said it wasn't about you. because we're people, we're human beings.
Yeah, of course. You have to acknowledge that. Like, you have to acknowledge that, you have to acknowledge that even though they don't take it completely and totally personally, there's a little bit of them that's gonna. There's just, that's just being human. That's just the human condition, is like, no matter how much their rational brain says, yeah, I don't take it personally, it's not about me, it's something that's just going on with them. There's still going to be some part of them that does take it personally, and you got to appreciate that. You have to appreciate that, and you have to acknowledge that, because if you don't, then you're taking advantage of that person. You're taking advantage of the person that loves you enough to accept you for who you are. And that will only end in tears.
Well, and that's why now that we're talking about the past, like when in my partnership, we talk about the past and at different times when I wasn't as aware of what I was doing, and especially what I was doing to him. He always refers to it as the time I was difficult to love. Mm-hmm. And he's like, it's not that I didn't love you. It's not that I ever stopped. It's that there were times that you were difficult to love because you wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
And that's hard to hear, because at the time we didn't talk about it. And, I would just keep him at arm's length and he would give me space, but I didn't realize how much I hurt him. And now that we're able to talk about that, I don't want to be that anymore. And does not mean it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They're definitely, but I am more aware of it now, that even when I'm in the throes of something, I can be like, I have to check in. I have to, look him in the eye. I can't push him away. It can't just be that. There has to be at least a part connection, because I don't want to be difficult to love. I just am. But communication helps with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, communication is key in the entire thing. Like, if you don't communicate what's going on, but if you don't communicate how much you appreciate the other person, then they're not going to know. They're absolutely not going to know. And you also, even when you're going through your own bullshit, even when you're going through some of your hard times, you got to remember that their life doesn't stop. Just because you're going through a hard time does not mean that your partner's life stops, that shit stops bothering them, that that all of their emotions are put on hold while you're getting your shit together. They're still going through shit too. And they're also going through shit because you're going through shit, because they love you. If they love you, then they're absolutely going to be affected by what you're going through. If you're going through a hard time, then it's going to affect them too. And it definitely doesn't have to be something where you have to focus on them. What you have to do, though, is you have to check in and be like, hey, thank you for being here with me in all this. How are you? Are you okay? Like, what's going on? Because they need to get it out too. Because that shit festers. When you're on one side of a relationship in which the other person is going through some real hard shit, if no one checks in on you, you're going to be affected greatly. Like, you're going to be affected deeply, because it makes you feel forgotten.
Right.
It makes you feel like no one really cared about you in the first place. It can create a kind of mental illness in and of itself, a neglect, that if you want to stay in a healthy relationship, you can't have that happen. Like, you have to always check in with your partner. Like, hey, I know I'm going through some hard shit. I know I know it's difficult to be with me right now. Thank you for being with me. And how are you doing with it? And not just how are you doing with it, but how are you doing? What's your day been? Like, what is, what's been going on with you? Just making sure that the other person is still getting what they need. And you may not be able to give them everything that they need, and they also have to understand that you're not going to be able to give them your all. You're 100%, and you might even be faking it. You might even be like, I don't give a fuck what's going on, but just making the effort is enough a lot of times.
Right.
Because, sometimes being in a deep depression means that it is impossible to care about anything, that you can't care about anything. That's just how it goes. But just making the effort will make the other person feel better and feel appreciated. That's all you need to do, is just make the effort. And if you do that, then you're going to come out of that thing a hell of a lot stronger than you went into it.
Well, because I feel like it's just the idea of reaching out, because then the person is at least at arm's length. If you're reaching out to try, you haven't pushed them so far gone that they're now an island in the middle of the ocean of your fucking relationship, which I found like exactly. It's just that tagging in for a second, just because, I mean, I'm very guilty of it. I go into those things and I just push them away. And it's not fair.
Yeah.
I suck sometimes. But that's okay. You know, I can acknowledge
we all
that.
suck sometimes. You know, we also, I almost do like the opposite, where it's like, no, come here. Like, come here. No, come here. And it's not like I don't, I forget about everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, like I get so wrapped up in my own bullshit and get so wrapped up in my own head, because a lot of this shit is, it's like a constant struggle, like it's a constant fight to stay on the straight and narrow, to stay sane, to not make terrible decisions one way or another, and to just stay rational. It's a constant battle in my head. It never ends. But I'm kind of realizing lately is that I overanalyze things to the point of destroying them. I'm pretty much Lenny everything.
Love you. Crush the rabbit. I crushed the rabbit.
I know. And I will say, like, it's almost like Lenny is the unofficial mascot of Cave Comedy Radio, because we mention Lenny we use that metaphor more than any other metaphor by far.
I mean, I definitely Lenny the shit at a lot of things.
Yeah, we do that a lot on the station. But yeah, I'll do that. I'll overanalyze absolutely everything, because I'm so afraid of fucking up. I'm so afraid of making the wrong decision. I'm so afraid of pissing somebody off. I'm so afraid of absolutely destroying everything. So I overanalyze everything and I enjoy nothing. I mean, that's not true. I don't enjoy nothing, but it's a lot harder for me to find the flavor, you know? Like, it's a lot harder for me to just be, to just exist. And so when that happens, when I really start overanalyzing everything, I pretty much shove my head up my own ass, and I forget about everything and I forget about everyone. And I become so focused on shit that doesn't matter, so focused on things that have no bearing on anything, analyzing every tiny little detail, and forgetting about everybody and everything around me. And that is unfair. Because it becomes my struggle, especially when you're in a relationship, when you're in a relationship and you have mental illness, if you really want it to make it work, it has to stop becoming your struggle and becoming our struggle, because that person is with you. That person is a partner. And that person has to be privy to what's going on with you. But you also have to be privy to what's going on with that person. And you have to remember that just because you suffer from mental illness does not mean that you are more important than they are. It does not mean that your feelings are more valid than their feelings. It doesn't mean that your feelings are worth more than their feelings. They're not. They're absolutely not. It's just something different. It's a different way to approach it. And you have to stay equals in that. And if you don't, then one person is going to start resenting the other one way or another. And it's not going to last.
I just think it's always around this time of year that I'll always remember it. That was years and years and years ago that I remember I finally, because, I have a hard time with Christmas. And I remember that, I was dealing with another fucking Christmas that I was so upset. And then I remember that I had asked, I was like, do you like Christmas? And he was like, honestly, I haven't even really thought about it because I've spent so many years trying to make you happy around Christmas that I didn't even think about how I felt about it. And I was just like, oh my God. It's like, why don't I? It's like, because it was just something that it's like, because I'm a tornado when I start thinking about things, and that it wasn't something that he even had time to think about in years.
Yeah, so Christmas is just like Jackie maintenance goes up high.
Just
it's
trying,
like high alert.
Yes,
yeah.
Just trying to keep me from not spinning out.
Yeah.
And then, like, that's why I'm trying to make a conscious effort to not do that anymore, i.e. not going home for Christmas this year, where it's like I'm trying to do things because I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
And there are ways that we can work on this together. But that made me feel like, again, a piece of shit, man.
We all feel like pieces of shit sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I think everybody feels like a piece of shit sometimes. Yeah. I think if you never feel like a piece of shit, then
you're a narcissist.
Yeah, exactly. You're a narcissist.
Yeah.
There's that, like, if you never feel like a piece of shit and you always think that everything is everyone else's fault, and, you know, why can't they just conform to you? Then, yeah, you're a fucking narcissist. Mm-hmm. So work on that.
You know? Not something I have to deal with at all. Narcissist is something I could definitely cross off my list of things that I am not.
Yeah, I think so. You want to get to letters for today?
Let's fucking shoop our way down.
All right. First letter. What are we calling this lady?
Ooh. I guess if we're shoop, we're calling it the Shangri-La. The Shangri-La, though.
The Shangri-La.
Yes.
Singular.
Yes.
Not the band.
No. Like above the band.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. That's pretty high praise. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Marcus. Longtime listener to all of your podcasts. First-time emailer. I'm looking for Jackie's advice in particular because of her nanny experience. I've been a full-time nanny / personal assistant / house manager / surrogate parent to a little girl for 5 years now. Started at 6 years, and she just turned 11 last week. I was 20 when I started, and at the time, the job was a total godsend. The money is great. I travel with them. A good deal of my expenses are taken care of, and I love the kid. However, when I started, I assumed it would be a temporary thing. I play music and figured the job would be a good way for me to fund creative projects until something became successful. 5 years later, I'm still here, waking up at night, afraid I've grown too comfortable and will never be able to leave the safety of my job. A friend coined the term golden handcuffs in regards to my situation, and that's exactly how it feels. I'm 25, but I feel like I'm destined to watch my dreams die while I raise rich people's kids. I realize that sounds dramatic, but I'm hoping Jackie knows the feeling I'm talking about. Not only the panic of wasting my youth, but the guilt I'd feel leaving the little girl, watching someone else take my place. It's the weirdest job because it crosses so many boundaries, and in my experience, the qualities that make you really good at it are the exact things that make it toxic and confusing. Please, please, please give me some guidance. Love you both. The Shangri-La.
Girl, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Girl.
Oh my God. I really, really enjoy the term golden handcuffs because that is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It is the sweetest job and the worst job all at the same time. And it's hard. It is hard to leave. I had a long-term one all through college, and then I had one for many years in New York. The thing is that you're not their parent. Mm-hmm. And that is something that you have to tell yourself. And I know that sounds so, like, I know that you're doing it and you're trying, but there's something about having the connection with the kids that what I tried to do was both the parents in my situation, even though they treated me great and I traveled with them as well, they did make it clear that I was an employee.
Yeah.
And any little spark of what you get from those parents has nothing to do with this kid at this point. Focus in on that. Remember, you are an employee for them. And the parents don't feel, even though they include you, they do all that stuff, at the end of the day, you're doing the shit work. Mm-hmm. You're doing the work that they can't even bother to do. And if you think about it in a way that, like, you're almost even giving a gift that even if it's just for a few weeks, that the little girl has to be around her parents for a few weeks, think of that.
Yeah.
That's something that she needs. I mean, I'm still in contact with the family from college.
Really?
I still get Christmas cards from them. Because I wanted to know, and I still remain in contact with them. I mean, the kids were young, but I wasn't like messaging them on Facebook. But I mean, every once in a while I look them up because I'm a creep. Yeah. But just to make sure that they're doing well.
Yeah.
And I mean, the one here, I loved my boys in New York so much, and it meant the world to me. But the woman I worked for was such a horrible bitch that it made it pretty easy to leave.
Yeah.
It's such a weird mind fuck when you think you're a part of the family. You're not. remembering that you're not, remembering that, like, even at the end of the day, like, no matter how comfortable you can get, it's not like being in your mom's house. It's not like, that you can just kick off and be like, whatever, this is my space, because it's not your space. And I think it's like remembering all of those little things that make it a job is what helps.
Yeah.
You can stay in contact with the little girl. You can still, it's like with the Christmas cards and doing all that kind of stuff and emails now, and like you can still FaceTime with her too. And I imagine that it would help that, if you help them find another person. But I don't think it would.
Yeah, and also she's 11. She's about to hit puberty, so it's a good time to get out.
Get out of there. Get out of it. But I think that it's like, you gotta go. 25 years, you haven't wasted your youth.
No.
You still have fucking time. But it's hard to do. It's like with a comedy job, because I thought the same thing. I was like, I'll work at night. I'll get it. But it's rough to have to be a parent all day when you're not a parent and then go do late night shows. That has to be your priority now. It's time to switch your priority. And I think that you can do it.
Yeah.
I think you're ready for it.
Save money.
That's the thing. Maybe give yourself a 6 month. Give yourself 6 months. Get through the holidays. Save as much fucking money as you can. And that's all you can do. Because that's what I did at both the jobs that I did. That when I knew that it was going to be coming. And I also talked with the kids about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I just up and left. I talked to them in advance. And I was like, I'm going to have to go. It was harder in Tallahassee because they were so young. And one of them had Asperger's. So that was... She never understood. And I remember the last time I saw her, and she was like, okay, we see you tomorrow. And I was like, well, you're not going to see me tomorrow. It was like, then I was like, I'm not going to, I can't do this. But the other kids were, happy for me. And that's what it is. You have to remember that if she does see you as an older sister or a mom type, it's like she's just going to be happy for you and she'll miss you. At least she's old enough now.
She's old enough to understand, without a doubt. 11 years old is a hell of a lot older than people really think it is. They understand quite a bit. Yeah.
I don't. It is hard. Give yourself an out. Save a bunch of money, and just cut that umbilical cord.
Yeah.
It's like living at home. Golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
It's like it's great, but it's also not great. I gotta go do my thing, but I can't.
And you gotta also ask yourself, what are you gonna do instead? I think that's
still got to make money. It's not like you're automatically going to make money doing music.
No, you might have another 10 years if you want to make money making music. You might have a long time ahead of yourself.
But what I did was that I found a place that was, now I'm invested in it because that's just how I work. But finding a place that is just a job. It's not something you think about. You go in, you do it. When you leave, you don't think about it anymore. And that's your goal. Just a job. Look at a fucking coffee shop. Look at a restaurant. Look at something that is just, or temp agency, that you can just work on other things or think about other things while you're doing something else.
Yeah, a lot of our friends have jobs that are, it's something where they have pretty mindless jobs where they don't have to worry when they're outside of work what's happening inside of work, like what they're going to. Like right now you're worried, you leave work and, the kid's sick and you're probably still worried about the kid. But, you work at a coffee shop and the person working next to you is sick, you don't give a fuck.
No,
you don't really, not really. You don't really care. You go home and you forget about it. And I think that's the type of job that you're looking for. It may not pay as well as what you're used to right now.
It never will.
Yeah.
It never will. God damn the money I used to make. Ooh.
Pretty good.
Ooh. It's really good. It's really, really good. It's a really hard job to leave. But honestly, now I love my job because it is the only time of day that my brain shuts off, that I'm on autopilot, that I just do the job and then I leave and then the anxiety of the world comes crashing down on me of all of the things. But for those 8 hours, I was thinking about that shit.
All right. All right. We want to do one more?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, what are we going to call her?
Ooh, how about Squirrel Nut Zippers? Let's go. We're going for a band.
Oh, yeah.
It's a band day.
Bands.
Yeah.
Where did you pull Squirrel Nut Zippers from? That's...
I was
haven't
listening
thought about
to
them
the
in forever.
soundtrack. Early heard.
All right. Here's it says. Dear Jackie and Marcus, appreciate the open, honest mental health discussion, hopeful, inspiring stuff. Thank you.
Hell
Thank you
yeah.
for listening. I have been in therapy for nearly 4 years after a particularly nasty obsessive-compulsive episode sent me to outpatient. While it was absolutely not the place I was looking to hang out for most of my summer, it was incredibly helpful in terms of understanding how my anxiety worked and certain triggers of my anxiety. My therapist is awesome, and my OCD is under great control. My OCD is not the cleaning, color-coding type. I suffer from pure O, which is basically a terrifying thought enters my brain and it plays over and over again, and it is so scary that I can't eat or work and life becomes a total chore. My issue is anger. Apparently, I am filled with rage, and that thought scares me more than anything. I've tried to come to terms with making anger my friend and to respect and allow the anger to be free, but I have no idea how to release, so I guess my question is, what are some healthy ways you're able to find to release concerning anger? Thank you for doing your part. I believe people who have gotten help, found successful treatment concerning mental health should always give back and share their story to guide others, so kudos. Skull Nut Zipper.
I mean, there's a lot of things you could do. It is, for someone that I went through years of anger management therapy, it really did help. It's all about, it's about zeroing in and finding where it's coming from and what because every person is different in how they want to deal with their anger. I know a lot of people that exercise, that, that it's the kickboxing classes, all that shit, that stuff really fucking works. And obviously, I'm not that person. This sounds really silly, but when I get really angry, what I like to do, number one thing that calms me down personally is cook.
Yeah?
I like to look up crazy recipes, like something that I've never made before, something that looks really hard, and I try to make it. It's something about refocusing your energy. If you're by yourself, this is like only when I'm by myself do I do
Italian
things like that.
thing I've ever heard.
I know, but it's silly, but it's like, it's the refocusing of like, I need to think about something that is almost to a point that is difficult, like that I have to think about to really bring me down out of this. And for me, that works. I had a friend that used to like rip paper. She would sit and just rip paper into tiny little pieces, and that motion, that repetitive motion, made her feel better. I think it is definitely, it's a ebb and flow. It's like you just kind of got to figure it out for yourself. My problem is I still throw things. I try not to throw things. Instead, I'll hit a pillow. And that is something, that's that old-timey anger management thing. But you know what? It fucking helps.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt yourself. It's trying to find things that you can do to help yourself that don't hurt yourself or other people around you. And that is very important. It took me a long time to learn that. But I think that you could do it. Honestly, if you could look into anger management therapy, it just being able to have somebody that can, when you're in that place, or that can get you to that place and then talk you down out of it, for you to realize what you can do to help you bring it down.
So that's what they do, is they purposely get you angry?
That's what I went through.
Yeah.
I think it is another one of those things that is different for a lot of people, though.
Right.
Is that I needed, because like I am very different on a regular basis, that I had to get, because it was like, I don't know. I get angry, but I don't get that angry. And she learned my triggers of how to get me really pissed off. And like, that sounds so...
What did she do?
A lot of things. There's a lot of things. It's body issue things. It's, it's family things. And for me, it's also just some things just looking at me wrong.
Yeah.
And that's where I figured out when I call it the red, because I wanted to make it a thing. I didn't want it to just be a concept inside of my head. I needed it to be physical for me to be able to understand it. And so when I get into the red is when I have to start refocusing my energy and get it down. And I try to feel it. I feel it in the top of my head, and then I think of it as an actual thing, and I make it dissolve into my body. Like something that I'm like pulling apart, and then I watch it almost like a lava lamp as it goops down through the rest of my body, and that helps me.
Yeah. That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's fucking great. Yeah. No.
But
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I've actually got a like an OCD visualization that I use because I'm not OCD or anything like that. Like, of course it's not, but it is something like the intrusive thoughts. Like I do have the intrusive thought stuff, nowhere near as bad as I used to, but there is still some of that going on. And I talked about this on a way far back episode. I think maybe even it might even been with Sarah, like fucking years and years ago. But one of the things, the visualization that I had was that those intrusive thoughts were like little finger puppets. You know, like the little finger puppets that you get in the little plastic bubbles in supermarkets, the little monsters, you know. And the way I kind of thought about it is that those monsters, if there is no finger for those monsters to rest on, then they're just pieces of plastic. There's nothing to power those things on their own. And for me, what those, like the intrusive thoughts, like what the I guess delivery mechanism for those intrusive thoughts would be a hand. And then I realized there is no hand. There is no driving force behind, there is no real driving force behind these intrusive thoughts. There is no motivation for it. There's no reality behind these things. It's just my brain playing tricks on me. It's just, that's pretty much what it is. It's your brain playing tricks on you. It's like a protective mechanism. It's trying to shield you from something, some sort of like past trauma that you have. There's some sort of shielding going on, some sort of protection, but there's no basis for it. And so that was the visualization that I had, was I would think about those little finger puppets in a hand, or those finger puppets on fingers, and then the hand would disappear and they'd fall to the ground. And then sometimes they get up and they'll run away and laugh, and they're like, I'll see you later, I'll get you. Like, I'll get you. And now I mean, I still, the visualization I kind of have now is kind of like that, you know, when I feel extreme, like, you know, overanalyzing, when I kind of feel like shitty thoughts coming into my brain, worming their way into my psyche, I just imagine myself coming out and kicking those little puppets and going like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here. And then they'll like kind of run away like, hee, see you later, fucker. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll see you next time.
It's like you're living in Leprechaun.
Yeah, because they're never like, I have you know, long ago, like, no, actually not even that long ago, but I've had to, you know, you have to make peace with the fact that, you know, this shit just doesn't go away. You know, like, it gets better, you know, and and eventually, like, certain techniques that you use to deal with this stuff can become autopilot. Like, I'm sure a lot of the stuff that you learned in anger management, it just kind of becomes autopilot, and you don't even really think about doing it. You just do it. You've trained your brain to do that. But, you know, it never really goes away. You know, it never really stops completely. So you still kind of have to have those little tips and tricks here and there. You just can't forget them. So, I mean, really, the anger, yeah, you'll always probably be kind of an angry person, but just so long as it doesn't negatively affect your life, and just so long as you're aware of it and you're taking care of it, don't feel bad about it. You'll be okay.
And also remember to breathe.
Always.
That's something.
Always.
No, but like, that is something that is a really good thing, especially when you're first starting out. It's that when you're that angry, you're not thinking about your breathing, and it's another easy way to focus your energy on something else, like doing the and just stare at a wall, and do it for as long as you need to.
Yeah,
and that helps.
I would imagine a bathroom stall is your friend.
Yeah. God, how many times I just go into a bathroom, just you. Fuck, and just scream, but, you know, tiny screams, you know, and then you scare other people in the bathroom, but, you know, they don't fuck with you.
Yeah, well, of course they don't fuck with you. Why would they? Yeah, you'll be all right. You just have to find your little, your tips and tricks, man. We all got them.
And you're working on it, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah, you're going to therapy. You've been in therapy for 4 years, and you're working on it. You've already got the big shit under control. Now it's time to take care of all the little things,
little monsters.
And then after that, you just got to keep that lawn mowed. Keep that.
Sounds like pussy hair meetings.
I know it sounded dirty.
I'm sorry, I could not say it.
Keep your lawn.
Oh, God. I try to.
That's all we got time for this week. Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you've got any questions for us or if you got anything to comment about on our episode today, I also want to thank somebody who wrote in about our borderline personality disorder letter last week. That's somebody who had been diagnosed with borderline and did a lot of work over the years to really maintain it and get it under control. And she said she's living a great life now.
Hell yeah!
And I gave her the email of our anonymous anonymous person. And if our anonymous person that wrote in about that didn't get that email, email us at cavecomedyradio@gmail.com, and I'll be sure to put you guys in contact because she said she had some good stuff to tell you, and she'll be able to tell you a hell of a lot better than we can.
Hell yeah!
All right, so make noise and be free, fuckers.
Hakuna motherfucking.